in the village of Azura, where every story was whispered and every secret was known. However, one woman's story stood out, but not in the way she had hoped. At 35, Ogechi was still unmarried, a fact that drew both pity and scorn from those around her. The village was steeped in old traditions and expectations which often felt like shackles to her. Every morning in Azura was often bustling with activity, with women gathering at the market, their voices mingling with the clamor of bargaining and laughter. Among them, Ogechi moved with quiet dignity, her eyes cast down as she focused on her way. However, the whispers followed her like a shadow. "How old is she now?" one woman asked, barely making her curious. 35, and still no husband. "Such a pity," another woman answered, trying to keep her voice low. Ogechi was born into a humble family in Azura. Her father, a skilled farmer, passed away when she was just a teenager, leaving her mother to raise her and her younger siblings alone. Ogechi quickly learned the act of responsibility, putting her dreams of further education aside, to help her mother on their small farm and ensure her siblings could go to school. She worked tirelessly, often putting the needs of her family above her own desires. As the years passed, suitors came and went, many put off by her plain looks, strong will, and unwavering dedication to her family. Ogechi rejected a few marriage proposals that didn't feel right, believing in her heart that true love would find her in time. However, time had its way of slipping by, and her youth faded. Now at 35, she found herself still unmarried, a fact that had become a point of ridicule among her peers and the subject of endless gossip in the village. The village women would whisper, "Ogechi thinks she's too good for the men here, that's why she's still alone." Others speculated, "It's because of her choices in her youth. She spent her best years running after her family instead of finding a husband, now she's left with nothing." They'd say with a mix of pity and judgment. Ogechi knew there was another reason for her solitude, one she rarely spoke of. Her heart had been broken by her first love, a man who left the village suddenly, promising to return but never did. For years she waited, hoping against hope, her faith in love slowly turning into distrust. That experience made her wary and more selective about who she let into her life. Every day was a test of her resilience, as she faced daily struggles against the judgmental eyes of her community. Women looked at her with a mix of pity and condescension. "She should be ashamed," they'd say in harsh tones as she walked by. "She'll soon enter menopause without a husband or children. What will she do then?" The village men weren't left out either. They'd openly mock her, saying, "If you keep waiting, you'll end up marrying a spirit or an old man. At least that way, you won't die alone." At the market, Ogechi felt the sting of loneliness. Vendors would greet her with forced politeness, their eyes darting toward the rings on their own fingers or their children playing nearby. Every exchange felt like a reminder of what she lacked: a family, a husband, a child to call her own. Despite her mother's support, who she visited occasionally with words of encouragement, Ogechi felt pressured. Her mother would say gently, "My dear, I'm getting old. I want to see you happy before it's too late." Those words often left her feeling even more pressured. She wondered if her shortcomings had led her to this point, or if the gods were simply indifferent to her suffering. At night, her struggles were magnified. The walls of her small house seemed to close in on her, and silence was a harsh companion. She'd sit by her window, watching the stars, wondering if they held any answers to her prayers. She clung to hope like a lifeline, praying to the gods for a miracle. A husband who would see her for who she truly was, not for what she lacked. Loneliness was a shadow that followed her everywhere, an unseen burden she carried with every step. Her dreams were haunted by the fear of growing old alone, or never feeling the joy of motherhood or the comfort of a partner's love. Yet, despite her pain, Ogechi held her head up high, refusing to let the cruelty of others break her spirit. One faithful sunny evening, a stranger arrived in Azura. His name was Azubike, a man who had left his village for greener pastures. According to him, he decided to settle in Azura after hearing about the richness of their soil and their welcoming nature towards strangers. As the traditions of Azura demanded, Azubike met with the village elder and his cabinet to inform them of his presence in their land. To be given the go-ahead to settle in fully, Azubike settled in and soon cultivated a vast piece of land, quickly getting him the attention of the villagers. The men wished they could achieve such success within a short space, while the women of marriageable age started doing everything possible to attract his attention. However, it seemed destiny had other plans. The arrival of Azubike in Azura was like a breath of fresh air in Ogechi's stifling world. Unlike the others, Azubike did not see her as a subject of ridicule, but as a person deserving of kindness. He approached her with genuine interest, rare in her life. Their first encounter happened when Azubike noticed Ogechi tending to her garden. "Good afternoon," he said with a warm smile, trying to break the ice. "I'm Azubike. I'm new to the village. May I join you for a moment?" Ogechi was taken aback by his friendly demeanor. "Of course," she replied, her voice tentative. They began to talk, and Azubike's questions were different from the usual friendly inquiries. He asked about her interests, her life in Azura, and genuinely listened to her responses. As they continued to converse, Ogechi found herself slowly opening up to Azubike. His presence was a real source of comfort. "You have a beautiful garden," Azubike remarked one day. "It's a reflection of your strength and patience." Azubike's kindness was a balm for Ogechi's wounded spirit. He began visiting regularly, bringing small gifts and sharing stories of his past. Their conversations grew deeper, and Ogechi found solace and understanding in what he offered. For the first time in years, she felt seen and valued. As their relationship developed, Ogechi's feelings for Azubike became more profound. One evening, while they watched the sunset together, Azubike turned to Ogechi with a seriousness that caught her off guard. "Ogechi," he began, his voice earnest, "I have come to care for you deeply. I see the strength in you that others overlook. I want to offer you something more than friendship, a chance of a new beginning." Ogechi's heart raced. "What do you mean?" she asked, with shock written all over her face. Azubike took a deep breath. "I want to marry you, Ogechi. I want to build a life with you, where you are not judged for your past but cherished for who you are." Tears of joy and relief filled Ogechi's eyes. "Yes, I will," she responded, tears now flowing freely down her cheeks. To her, the gods had finally decided to answer her prayers. After 35 long years of mockery, she had found love and acceptance. Soon after the proposal, they held a small traditional marriage ceremony with 2 of Azubike's family members in attendance. The villagers, though initially skeptical, could not deny the sincerity of Azubike's affection. For a brief moment, the laughter and happiness overshadowed the old scorn. Ogechi and Azubike settled into married life, welcoming 2 children, a boy and a girl. Ogechi's happiness seemed complete. However, the village scrutiny did not disappear. Instead, it took on a new form, focusing on Azubike's background. "No one knows anything about this man called Azubike," a villager said. "Aside from the story he told the elder when he came here. What if he's an outcast, a killer, or even a thief banished from his land?" The rumors spread like wildfire, and soon they took a toll on Ogechi and her marriage to Azubike. Among those who started the rumors were women who had wished Azubike had married them instead. They were unhappy and vowed to do anything to bring the marriage to an end. The rumors were painful for Ogechi. She had hoped her marriage would end the mockery, but it seemed to invite more. She confronted Azubike about the gossip. "Why won't you introduce us to your family?" she asked, her voice filled with frustration. "Don't you see how the villagers are talking?" Azubike would offer excuses whenever Ogechi brought up the issue, saying he was busy or that it wasn't the right time. His reluctance to provide clear answers only fed Ogechi's anxiety. "I'm trying to protect us," Azubike would say, though his words did little to reassure her. Eventually, after much pressure from Ogechi, Azubike agreed to take her and the children to visit his people. The journey was long and fraught with tension. Ogechi's heart was heavy with anticipation and apprehension. Every mile felt like a step toward either resolution or further disappointment. When they arrived at the outskirts of Azubike's family compound, he directed her and the children to enter while he greeted some old friends. "Introduce yourselves when you get there, and mention that I'll join you later," he instructed. Ogechi and the children entered the compound, where they were met by an aged woman and her husband having dinner. The expression on their faces showed they weren't expecting visitors, but they still received them warmly and offered water. Ogechi introduced herself and her children, explaining that her husband, Azubike, had stopped by the village square to greet some old friends and would join them later. However, the people before her wore solemn faces mixed with confusion. "Who did you say directed you here?" Azubike's father asked, worry etched on his face. Ogechi repeated what she had said earlier, but this time, she met the crying face of Azubike's mother. "That man who said he wants to greet his friends before coming home is never coming back," she said slowly amidst tears. "He's not coming back because he's no longer human. He died 5 years ago. He was our only child, taken away from us by the cold hands of death." Ogechi was confused, and Azubike's father took her to his grave. Still, she wouldn't believe it, not until a photo of Azubike's childhood and another of him just before he died were shown to her. She wailed and wailed, refusing to be consoled. At this time, more villagers had gathered to see for themselves the wonder of nature, where a dead man could raise a family. The news quickly spread, and soon, the people of Azura got hold of the story. I said it, that something was not right about that man Azubike," a maiden said on her way to the stream with another. "Thank goodness the gods kept him away from us. Who knows what would have become of us," the second maiden added, raising her hands to the sky in thanksgiving. After Ogechi recovered from her shock, she was asked what she wished to do, since her supposed husband was never coming back. She decided to leave the rest of her days with Azubike's parents, raising their children to grow among their people. The villagers supported her in every way they could, and Azubike's parents never ceased to thank the god who decided to find a way to compensate them for the death of their only child. In the midst of her anguish, Ogechi felt a strange sense of gratitude. Azubike's sacrifice had given her the chance of a family she had long waited for. She clung to this bittersweet comfort as she processed the enormity of the revelation. Ogechi often visited her aged mother, and the villagers never missed a chance to check on her children, wondering if they were truly human or ghosts like their father. Years went by, and Ogechi's children grew into strong, intelligent, and handsome individuals, a testament to the love that had brought them into the world. And though the villagers still whispered about Azubike's true nature, Ogechi knew that his love had changed her life forever. Please share the lessons you learned from this story. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in my next video. Goodbye.